Hi everyone, this is Derek King Kingfish on YouTube. It's been some time since I've made a video. However, I decided to make this video today because I know everyone struggles with green water in their pond, and I have 100% solved this problem. I don't know if you can see how clear this is, but this is my pond. It's 7,054 gallons. It's about six and a half feet deep at the absolute deepest, and I feed roughly 9 cups of food per day, and there's 36 pretty decent sized koi in there. So I want to show you this. Now my pond does have a cover though. I do want to admit that. However, this summer, over the last few months, we've had 100+ degree weather most of the day. And so my pond is usually in full sun about 10 hours out of the day. And I'll tell you, prior to this change, I did have green water troubles. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of take you through all of it because I know we all have this problem, and this eliminates the problem entirely. All right, so first and foremost, my skimmer is here. My skimmer is actually under there. It's a submersible pump, about 8,000 gallons per hour. It actually pumps all the way up there, and I'll show you that I'll show you in a second. That I have 2 things that are going on here, and if you notice, you can see down to the bottom, that part right there is about 5 feet, and you can actually see that aerator down there, and there's another one over there that's about 6+ feet down. I also have a bottom drain, so that's important. I have a skimmer here, and that one's going to a Nexus 320, and I have a bottom drain that's actually going to a C2C filter that's over on the side. If I had something to do different, I would actually have done the C2C filter a little bit differently, and you'll see why when I get over there. Okay. All right, part of the point of the video is to show you my entire setup. As I mentioned before, if I had something to do over, it would be where did I locate the C2C filter. Okay, so as it relates to me trying to actually give you the information on the setup, the C2C filter is set about water level. My pond is there. This is about a 4.5 foot wall here. My pond actually goes below that, so I'm on the other side of the pond. So again, if I had one thing to do over, is my C filter has nowhere to have the water exit automatically. And also, because see, this doesn't make a top, just to help you guys out, if you look in the construction section at most of the big box hardware stores like Lowe's or Home Depot, you can actually just find these. It's a large all-purpose tub. It's all it is, and it actually fits over the top. So I want to show you something before I actually have to clean it out. Most people won't have to do this, but you can see how clear the water is that's actually coming out of there, and that's actually taking all of the debris and detritus off of the bottom of the pond. So the other thing that's important to note is that I don't have rock and gravel in my pond at all. It's a dedicated koi pond. I do have plants in my pond, so that's going to drop something in there. So the other piece to that is weekly I go in here and I actually take out the algae that's actually sitting on the bottom when I actually pull that drain. But I don't pull the drain because, again, it would just drain here. I don't have anywhere for it to drain out because if you notice, the rest is cemented because I'm on my full court basketball court. So I don't have anywhere to actually let it drain. Okay, so that's important. Again, that's taking all the detritus off of the bottom of the pond. So literally, and I'll go back and I'll show you, I don't actually ever have to drain my pond to do a spring cleaning at all. In fact, I haven't done it in months, and I probably will never do it again. The last time I did it was just to check out the fish. And again, I didn't need to pressure wash it. I didn't need to do anything. Now, this is very important for me to show you. If you notice, look at the amount that's actually gathered from the bottom, and I've already taken some out. So I want to make sure that you understand that point. So every week, quite a bit, and I haven't taken out maybe a third of that, but quite a bit collects actually on the bottom of your pond. And again, just kind of get that in there so you can see that. That's quite a bit of muck and waste and detritus and everything that actually comes out. Now, normally, like I said, if this were set up correctly, if the seed were located correctly, I should say, I would simply be able to take a hose in here and rinse it out, or rinse it out with a bucket of pond water. But as such, I actually have to take it out. Okay, and I actually take it. It still only takes me about 7 or 8 minutes. But again, it's a step that if I had to do it over again, I would just locate the seeds in a better location. All right, it's very important to note that my pond is gravity fed, pump return. And the reason why that's important is because this weir is this is connected to the bottom drain. So if the pond were to go below this weir, it would actually break the siphon of that pump, which is returning it through the waterfall. So I run zero risk of that bottom drain actually draining the pond in its entirety. All right, what you see there is an Evo 55 that's actually coming in, but that's not the most important part. And I'm gonna show you the why, and I'll explain it of what's actually happening in. So let me take off this lid and I'll be right back. So the water's actually coming in here, it's going through the vortex. And again, it already went through the Evo 55 and it's actually hitting this drop-in UV, so it's getting hit twice. And so what's happening is it's making it flocculate before it goes through the mechanical filtration of the Nexus 320. And so I'm going to show you the difference. You see how clear that water is actually coming in. And I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to set it up so I'm going to show you how dirty the water actually is when it's getting trapped in the mechanical filtration. And again, you see the moving bed that's actually here. I do have a separate moving bed that I actually made also, and I'll show you that as well. Those of you who make videos regularly know that it's almost impossible to do this one-handed. So I had to take that off. So you actually put in the plunger to separate what actually happens, because the water comes here, goes through the mechanical filtration, then comes up to the biological filtration, and then exit out and goes back to the pump. So I want to just show you just how dirty the water actually is, even though it looks pretty clear, and I've already turned off the pump that's actually feeding this Nexus. Okay, so first thing you do, you change the air from here to here, and I want to show you just how dirty it is. So there's a few things that actually have to happen. Now you see what's actually happening, because algae is actually a single cell organism. Because I have the UV here and then another UV here, and if you notice that UV has the water, the algae spends more time getting exposed to that actual UV. So you see how dirty the water actually is. It's actually trapped in the mechanical filtration. So there's a few things that actually I know have figured this the reason why my pond is so clear. Is one, I clean this filter about every 2 days. I can do it every day if I chose. I let this run between 5 and 10 minutes to go ahead and agitate it to get all of the algae actually out of the water. So, but the other piece is actually because the algae, the single-celled algae, is actually exposed to UV for a long time. Again, it goes to that Evo, so it's exposed there, then it's hit again with this drop-in UV, and it's has more time exposed to this UV. So as it flocculates, it's getting caught in that mechanical filtration, and then I actually release it out and I dump it out and onto one of our palm trees. So I'm going to show you. I just simply do this every day. I actually don't clean out the cetus every day. I clean the cetus once per week. But you see the water quality that I actually have. And again, before I actually started using this drop-in UV, I wasn't having the same success. You see how green this water is? That's how green my water would actually be without this drop-in or without mechanical filtration, trapping that algae as it flocculates or clumps together right before being returned back to the pond. So you see there's no green water here because this is actually separated. So the way a Nexus 320 actually works is that this 3-stage filtration. Again, there's a vortex, it comes around here, goes through the mechanical filtration, comes back up, comes through the biological media, and then the clean water goes back to the pond. So again, I let this run for about 5 to 10 minutes or so, and I'm not gonna, bore you guys with that, so I'll cut it off, and then I'll give it a summary video, so that way you actually understand. All right, so I just turned that valve down there, and so what actually is happening is the water is actually going down, it's exiting out. All that green water is actually being thrown out to the plants. And so that's actually separating. So you see the difference, see how clear that water is, and you see how dirty that water actually is. And so again, when I refill it, it's going to go back to having very, very crystal clean water. And again, that's the key. Making sure it has enough time with the UV. Again, I hit it twice, so that way it flocculates right before it gets caught by mechanical filtration. And I honestly believe that this drop-in filter, which is about 2.5 feet long, it's a metallic drop-in filter, is actually the key, because it increases the amount of time that single-celled algae is exposed to the UV. So I want to show you the results of once all that water drains out. So you see that happens. I do this once every day, and if I were to pull this plunger up a little bit, just lift it up, you can see that the water coming through there is also pretty clear. I just do that to drain it a little bit. Now, again, because this is extremely hard to do one-handed, I'm going to cut the video off, remove the plunger, and turn all the valves back. So I've removed the plunger. And I'll show you. It's very clear there. So now I'm about to remotely, because I have a remote, because again, that is being filtered from a skimmer that's way over there. So I turn it back on, and you'll see the water start to come back through. And again, that water is very, very clear. It has a little bit of green in it at first, and then what will happen is it'll suck it through. So again, you see how clear that water is. And so as I return all of the valves and everything, the air pumps back to where they normally are, the water is going to go back in, it's going to come back out crystal clear, and I actually have two waterfalls. So this one is connected to a separate waterfall. The C to C is connected to one, and this is connected to the other. But again, this is the reason. It's because I'm able to actually have that single cell algae exposed to UV longer. It's exposed a few moments right before it's then exposed again in this vortex filter. And again, you see how long this lasts, so it kind of creates this glow in here. But what does that mean? That means that single-celled algae is actually exposed to the UV much longer than it typically would be exposed if it were just simply running through the piping, that 2-inch piping or 1.5-inch piping that's actually going to the Evo 55 or any other UV. Now, I do have another UV on this particular pond, but I'll tell you, this drop-in filter and the single-celled algae being exposed longer is the reason, because I had pea green water before making this change, and within about 3 or 4 days it's been clear, and that's been months. All right, so I'll make a summary video to explain it all. To fully eliminate green water, what I've done is expose the single-celled algae to UV longer. Additionally, I have no rocks in the pond. I have a bottom drain, and I have an 8,000 gallon per hour pump. And so with the head loss, and it's a 7,054 gallon pond, it's still giving the water exchange, even if I account for 1,000 gallons, which is not that much loss. But that is about a 6-foot incline from there to up there where my actual filtration actually is. I would say, let's just call it 7,000. So that means it's turning over the entire pond once per hour. So that's 24 times in a day. Now, here's why that's important. That means all of this single-celled algae is getting exposed over and over and over for an extended period of time. Then it's going into that Nexus 320, and the mechanical filtration is trapping it, and I'm letting it out every 2 days or so. And it's not that much water loss, but it's giving me this type of water quality in full sun. And when I'm saying full sun, I'm talking about today it was 98 degrees. Last week it was 105 degrees. Over the last month, it's averaged over 100 degrees. And this is a large pond in the sun, and you see that amazing water quality. So I'm in no way suggesting that you need a Nexus 320. What I am suggesting is that if you can have a bottom drain, have your pond turn over at least once every 2 hours, expose that single-celled algae to UV longer. And in my case, I do it twice, one right after the other, have it flocculate, and then get trapped by mechanical filtration and not released back into the pond. You can get this type of water quality. And again, for me, that extended exposure is directly related to that drop-in UV that I added to that Nexus 320. Because again, I had the Nexus 320 and I still had green water. I added that drop-in, and again, within 4 or 5 days, I can see a huge difference. And at about 7 days, it looked like this, and it has never gone back. And so again, it's a liner pond. When I drain it, it looks exactly like this for all the reasons that I mentioned, because I have a bottom drain, so it takes everything off of the bottom. And that skimmer has an 8,000 gallon per hour pump. And that bottom drain actually has a 5,800 gallon per hour pump on it that's actually feeding that waterfall there. And then those those urns. And this other waterfall is actually being fed by the pump that's off of the skimmer. That's an 8,000 gallon per hour pump that I'm accounting for head loss because it's going up so high. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope this video was able to help you, because I know we all struggle with green water, but this is the absolute solution. And you see that's the water quality. And I haven't done a water change or anything like that. It's just perfectly clear and it's absolute full sun, and we're in the summer. Today is September 23rd. I'm in Southern California. It's 2022 and it has been hot. But again, great water quality. I hope this helps.